We're finally back with the 2022 TBoss 750 UTV. Last video, we picked this thing up for $3,000 from the dealership. Typically, brand new, these machines go for $15,000. Way overpriced, but this is a 2022, only 2 years old, only 800 miles. So I think we got a pretty good deal at $3,000. The dealership stated this was having some major issues. So they said it ran good in neutral, but as soon as you put this thing into gear, it would grind and sound horrible. So they figured it was the clutches. That's why they bought it. They took off the clutch and they found that it was in fact not the clutch causing the grinding issue. So they stopped there, posted this thing up for sale, and I offered $3,000. They said come grab it. So we got this thing back home and we took it for a little test drive. In neutral, it does sound great, idles great, runs great, doesn't smoke at all. But as soon as you put this thing into reverse, low or high, it would make a horrible grinding noise. So the noise sounded like it was coming from the back here of the machine. So I figured it was the differential causing the issue. And I saw right away that the hitch mount here was busted off. So I figured that somebody maybe tried to pull something too heavy and it just ripped that whole hitch off and maybe caused a problem in the differential. We drained the fluid in the differential. That looked pretty good, no chunks or anything. So I figured maybe it wasn't the differential. We went to the engine, took up the clutches, and it was doing the same thing. So we knew it was not the clutch causing the issue. We ended up going a step further and disconnecting the differential from the engine. It's connected by this drive shaft in here. We disconnected that and ran the engine and we still heard the grinding noise. So that told me that it was not the differential causing the noise. So it was in fact the engine, which is the worst case scenario. So we actually had to take the engine out of the machine. All the plastics had come off, all the lines had come off, all the hoses, everything had come off. It was a big pain in the butt, but we finally got the engine out and it sits right here on the bench. So with this particular engine, the transmission and engine are one unit and it's one case, you can see. You can't disconnect the engine from the transmission like most machines. Most machines have a couple bolts here. You can disconnect the transmission from the engine. But on this one, we have to split the whole case and look at the transmission that way. And this is actually in gear, and you can see the drive shaft actually just skips. And I think that's the noise we were hearing. See, it sometimes catches, sometimes not. It's almost like the gears in there are ground down. So that's the grinding we were hearing for sure. I don't know what happened in here, but today we're gonna find out. We had to order up a puller for the flywheel. It takes a special puller. It is 50 millimeters by 1.5, and it is right-hand thread. So that's for that one. And then we had to order up a special puller for the clutch as well. So this is the one we got. I hope that's gonna work. So let's start digging into it. And we're gonna see what we find. All right, so I actually had to buy a couple different pullers. This is the one I bought, so that's what it looks like. Let's get a caliper out. Size these threads are. So they're gonna be 14 millimeter threads. And it goes down about .60 millimeters is when the threads start. So this one I had to modify just a little bit. So the bolt that goes in here was just slightly thinner than this. And we wanted this to be ground down so it could fit in the threads in the crank. So I had to grind a little bit away from here. So now this threads in here pretty nicely. And this is gonna bottom out all the way in the crank. So now, as you twist this in, it should pull that clutch off and push against the crank. See if the air impact will take it off. There we go. See what happens here. It's not only come. Does not want to budge. 3-pound hammer coming out. I think it's off. Wow. I put some grease on the threads. That seemed to help a lot. I think this clutch, oh yeah, she popped off. Oh man. Let's try to get the secondary off. So primary is off. Secondary, we tried this last video. We could not get that bolt off of there. Let's see if we can get it this video. All right, let's attempt to get this secondary off. All right, come on, baby, come on off. Is it reverse thread? What the heck? Sucker's on there, and there's no way of holding this secondary clutch to get a breaker bar on there, you know? It just spins. If you put it in gear, it just slips out of gear right away. Alright, we're gonna get the belt off. We can't get that bolt off of here, so let's just get the belt off, and we'll try to get the flywheel off next. That's crazy. Primary can come off. Belt looks really good. See, there's the primary bearing. Looks perfect, as it should, with only 800 miles on it. All right, so flywheel nut coming off. There's a washer there. All right, so this requires a special puller. This is 50mm threads by 1.5. Let's see if it goes on here. And it's right hand thread. Here we go. Let's see what happens. There we go. See, that was a lot better. That wasn't on nearly as tight. So that puller worked great. Got your woodruff key in here. Flywheel looks really good. Woodruff key out of there. There's the woodruff key. Let's check the one-way bearing here. Make sure that's good. So it can only spin one way. If you try to go reverse with it, locks up. Perfect. Access to our cam chain. You can get that out right away. Cam chain's nice. So if the cam chain was bad, it would be really stretched when you take apart the top end. This one was not stretched at all. And it would be like binding up, but you can see it just flops like that. So it's still good. Loctite on there. No washers or anything. Guide looks good, not all chewed up or anything. Alright, so I drew a line on here to see if this bolt was moving, and I finally got this thing to move. I pounded on that bolt with a 3-pound hammer, and finally, here we go. Let's see if it comes out. That sucker was on there. And we used a torch as well to heat up that bolt. I don't think that did much, but yep, after about 2 hours, check that out. Oh, does that feel good? And then there's a copper washer behind there, holding that on. Woohoo! That was not a fun one to get off. Alright, I think that's all of them. Let's see, I think they're all off. There we go. Now we've got this case we can get off. Do you guys see any more? Oh, there's one. A couple more. Alright, I think that's all of them. There's oil coming out. Got a gasket. Got a bearing here. Ooh, I see some chunks here. Up in there. Bunch of metal. Not good. So we're getting closer to the problem. Ooh, that looks pretty bad. What the heck is that down there? Oh man. What is that from? Bunch of chunks. Disassembling this in here. Here's the oil pump. Oil pump chain. I don't see anything broken in here. You can see the dots line up on the gears there. Two dots there. And for this gear, there's two single dots that line up perfectly. You can see 17 millimeter. Those are on there too. Pretty good. Okay. Here. A washer. Got your pin. Oil pump coming out. Gasket on there. No chunks in there at all. Well, seems pretty good. We'll tear that apart a little bit further later. But oil pump checks out. Pin's holding that on. Here you've got your pin. Gear looks good. That's for the counterbalance. These have O-rings on it. Holding these on. There we go, that one pulled out. Pry that out of here. Alright, so this little gear, you have to pry off first, and then the big gear can come off. There we go. So longer side goes down. Lines up with the key there. Now this gear should come off. There we go. Again, lines up with that key. Gotta get that key out of there. Just like that. There's that key. Right now that's free. Alright, we're at the other side now. Let's start getting these bolts off around the perimeter. Let's see here. One here. I think there's one here. All right. think that's pretty much it for that side. All right, back over to this side. There's a bolt up here in that corner and one right up here in that corner. And up here. I think those are the last two. Just double check. Nothing hidden over there. Oh, there's one over here too. Couple down here. Alright, this is coming apart already. So I think we can take it off from this side. We're gonna see if it can lift off this way. See what happens here. I think it's just gonna pull out the whole way here. There we go. So the crank is coming with this end over here. So let's go like this. Crank's coming with it. Okay. So here is the transmission. And here is the crank, counterbalanced. All the bearings in here. The crank looks good. Oh, look at all the metal in here. Look at all that. That is a ton. Take a rag and wipe that. Yeah, so something got chomped here. We'll take that screen out in a second. What the heck broke apart here? Main crank bearing has some metal in it. So far I'm not seeing any broken gears or anything, which is good. Alright, look at all the chunks of metal here. So something definitely broke. It's got to be in that transmission somewhere. So. Alright, let's start tearing into the transmission. So this gear comes out. That looks good. No teeth broken off of there. Alright, we can take this off. Here. That one's really loose on there. I think those are backing. It's way off. Look at this. Those are finger tight. Yeah, that's not right. Look. So those were backing their way off. Yeah. All of those were finger tight. Okay, this gear has to come off first, so this little guy. That's down. Now this can come off, I think. There's that gear still on there. I think the gear is still on there. So a little collar there. So the skinny side up. See See if we can get this gear out of here. So that's set on there like that. And then you've got your fork in there. It's spring loaded. That comes off like that. For some reason I can't get that drum out, so we're just gonna take the C-clip off the transmission here. We can get it. Be a washer right there. And that gear can come off, I think. And that one can come out. So this one's got the lip coming up. So that goes straight down like that. Now we can lift this off, I believe. See what's underneath there. Oh boy. Bearing feels good in there. Oh. There's the problem. Holy cow. That's pretty crazy. That's supposed to be going somewhere. Where the heck does that go? Look at that. Wow. Well, that's why that wasn't working. All those teeth just shredded. Huh. So this one is supposed to go on the shaft right here, and it goes down like that. I'm guessing it goes this way. And that rotates on this one. And this is junk too. It's all rounded off. Yeah, look down there. You can see that one's all rounded off too. So this whole drive shaft, I believe, needs to be replaced, at least this part of it. It looks like it separates over here. The drum needs to come out to get these out. So I'm gonna have to try to pound that drum out of here. Look what I just found at the bottom of the paper towel here. That must have fallen out when splitting the case. But this gear, that bad one there, was just laying in the case. But look what's supposed to go on it. This nut holds that on. That just got crushed. So that backed its way off. And was getting chomped between the gears. But that was supposed to hold that in place. Huh. So I wonder if this thing got loose before it gave out. Because all the bolts holding on this were loose in here. So if that was vibrating, maybe the nut eventually backed its way off, that gear slid in there, and that was grinding. So on reassembly, we're definitely going to use Loctite. I cannot believe that backed its way out like that. Counterbalance coming out. The short side goes down. Alright, we got the transmission to come out of here. So this whole thing can pull out. Just like that. All the gears look really good. Alright, so that's good. No damage at all to the transmission gears. It's pretty good. All right, we need to go over to the press and get this shifter star off. So that was pressed onto that shaft, and that was not coming off. So we took the pressed out this drum this way from the star, and it popped off. And that was on there. So that just goes just like that. But the shift drum looks perfect. No wear on there at all. And then here's the inside of the case. So we're gonna try to get out the drive shaft here and see if we can replace that gear there. But all the bearings were fine. Nothing was broken. So we got really lucky that this case didn't crack, because that gear was just flopping around in here, and if that pinched it wrong, it could have just went right out the case. All right, you can see that shaft coming out now. Alright, that's a 15 millimeter in there. Let's see if this one zips off from the inside. Kind of hard to hold it. There we go. Alright. That is free. So this bolt went down in there like that and connected here to the shaft here. Just like that. So that's cool. We can just buy that part because the other shaft is fine. So this is one part that we need, and here is the other piece we need. So it looks like the whole issue, these two parts. So I'm guessing that guy tried to pull something, and that put so much tension on it that those slipped, broke off a tooth. And now look at these. These are just completely ground down. And these are really, really worn down. You can see the wear on those. But the other possibility is that this nut fell off that held this one on. And this just fell off in there and then never was able to grab the other gear. So I don't know what happened first. Looks like the damage didn't affect the transmission at all. Just the gear on the drive shaft. All right, going over the transmission here. Just really checking everything over. So every single tooth looks perfect. You can see no wear at all. That looks good. Drum, we saw this before, looks perfect. We've got the bearing here. Looks really good. Here are the forks. Those look good. Make sure those are nice and straight. And here's the counterbalance. That looks good. So everything in the transmission looked great. All right, taking a look at the other case half here. We've got the crank. We're gonna quick check that out. And then you've got the counterbalance. There's two of them. One goes right there, one goes right here. Let's see if this will come out of here. pretty good. You've got your crank. I've got the gear on the other side. We're not going to take that off, but I just want to check the rod bearing here. So absolutely zero up and down play. Just a little side to side. So that looks really good. Crank bearing feels smooth in there. Cases are not cracked. Look. So no cracks in the case that I see anywhere on here. And all the bearings feel pretty good. This is China on there. So these bearings are Chinese. And here is the filter. That caught some metal there. A couple of those pieces actually broke through the screen. Look at that, a big piece of wire. So that needs to be cleaned out. All right, we've got the whole engine in the bin here, all labeled, ready to go. And we can order up some parts. Order up this gear, and this nut and washer that was on here. So we're gonna go look for some parts, see if we can find them. Hopefully they have parts for this model and year. I know parts are kind of hard to find for the Massimos. Next video, we're gonna be rebuilding the engine on this with the brand new parts. And we'll get the engine reinstalled and hopefully have a running and driving Massimo TBoss 750. And I don't think those gears are gonna be very expensive. So we'll probably only have couple $100 into this thing by the time we're all done, which would be a great deal. I'm a little worried about that differential in the rear. I'm hoping that's still good and isn't toast, but we'll get the engine back installed and we'll see after that, because we can easily tear out that differential and work on that too. But one thing at a time here, otherwise it gets a little overwhelming with parts and reassembly. So stay tuned for that video. Because this one's a little shorter, we're gonna continue the video and work on some other projects. I think you guys wanna see Vinny too. So let's go see what Vin's doing. Look who it is. Vinny, the crazy dog. You wanna go play fetch? Come here, come here, come here. Sit. Come here. You don't. Oh, then look at this little guy. George. I think he's scared of any. Hey, buddy. Let's see. Hey, George. What's up, man? I think Vinny's jealous of George. What do you think, George? I think Vinny wants to play. Let's go play some fetch. All right, we finished our video early. So we're just enjoying the night. Vinny, come on. Go get it. Ready? Come on. You gotta come back here. Come on. Come on. He's not the greatest at fetch. Hey, come on. Ready? I think Vinny is enjoying his night. Vinny, come. So 7 or 8 years ago, my grandpa actually dropped this bike off to me, and it was one of my first bikes that was on the channel. So if you look way back on the YouTube channel, you'll maybe see this bike in the thumbnail. But this is a pretty cool bike. He picked it up for 400 bucks and he dropped it off non-running. And it's one of the first bikes I've ever worked on. So pretty cool. Charlie, my brother, used to ride this thing around in the videos a lot when he was helping me out with YouTube. And it's one of the bikes we used to race against quite a bit. Yeah, so it brings back some good memories. But this bike's having a couple problems. So the first one I already fixed, I hope. The rear tire kept on going flat. The tube was popped, and I took the tire off, and the tire is pretty loose on the rim, and it's a little dry rotted. But I'm hoping the new tube holds up. I got a heavy duty tube, so we'll see today if we can get this thing fired up, if it lasts on the first ride. I haven't ridden this thing for years and years, so I don't know if it's gonna fire up. Let's kind of go through the whole bike and see if we can get this thing to fire up today and take it for the first ride in I don't know how many years. It's been sitting for a long time. All right, let's see here. B8HS plug in there. It's in for gas, 40 to 1, because I don't know if the pump is working. Oh, the plug looks good. You guys probably can't see, but it's pretty brown in there. Looks pretty good. Do we have spark? Let's see. I don't think you need a battery for this bike. Let's kick it over a couple times. It's on right now. Oh, great spark. Look at that. All right, we've got spark. Do we have compression? If we're over 120, I'll be happy. This is only a 100cc bike, so it should fire up with 90 pounds of compression, but I'm hoping for 120. We'll do throttle open and kick it over a couple times. So let's see if it is good or not. Here we go. Oh, not bad. 125. That's what I like to see. So, I can't remember if I stored this without gas in the carb, but if I did, this thing should fire right up. So let's see what happens. Let's turn that to, let's reserve. Let's see if any gas is flowing. I don't see any gas flowing. No gas is flowing. Let's see if there's anything in the gas tank. There's gas in there. Maybe the carb's already filled up. All right, let's give it a couple kicks. See what happens. Maybe it'll fire up. All right, adding a little premix 41. I don't really trust that oil pump in there. think that was first kick. Yeah, I was just low on gas. Wow. After all those years. Pretty nice little bike. Well, I guess we can test drive this thing. See if that tire holds up. Shift pad and it's 3 out. Alright, this thing's running great. See if the tire held up. Yep. So, this one is fixed. Ready to ride for the next 8 years. Alright, well, that's going to wrap up today's video. It was a little bit shorter today because we got the engine all torn down pretty quick on the TBoss 750. It was a pretty easy engine to tear down, and it's not too complicated. The transmission comes out in one piece, and it's really not that bad. So if we can find parts for it, we can get this engine rebuilt fairly quickly and back into the machine. We still have the other 2 UTVs out here we have to finish up too, waiting on parts. But these will be pretty nice once they're all finished up here. So hope you guys enjoyed the video today. Thanks for watching. Thanks for subscribing. Stay tuned for next video. And until next time, we are out.